What is up, everyone? Welcome back. Our apologies, we had a tiny little bit of delay there, as the teams did not swap sides, but that has been all sorted out now. The lobby was remade, the teams changed over their sides, and we are getting stuck into the second match. Really quick fire bans coming up, but before we talk about that, I'll introduce myself again for those of you just joining us. This is Monash Placeholders on the blue side, playing off against Velvet Weifish, all the way from Melbourne University. On the red side, of course, Velvet Weifish took out the first game. This is the second of the best of three series. My name is Matt Pixie Carroll, and casting with me today is Tepuni Pune. Last name?
Doyle.
Doyle.
Yes, that is me. So,
Yeah, really
as
fast
we saw
bans.
before-
Let's talk about that.
yeah, very fast bans. But briefly before we get to the bans, last game, very demanding victory by the side of Velvet Whitefish. So, we'll see. Hopefully, we see the same control matchup they played last game. Very well played, and the Evelyn pick gonna pick against. But we'll go over the bans real quickly. Shyvana, like I mentioned before, very strong on a good jungler's hands because of the changes to jungle items. Now the State of Devourer is an item. As much as I hate it, it is an item now. Orianna being taken away because it was used to such great effect last game. The Olaf being taken away because it's an ADC's nightmare and also a beast in that top lane. Echo, Elise, Draven. Echo being that strong jungler, or the mid lane assassin. Elise a strong jungler with the changes to the champion, and also Draven obviously doing work on Nissan last game.
Yeah, it's a real respect ban there, and the thing I'm actually really liking, because of course Monash had, Monash had the first pick. They banned out the Olaf and picked up the Aurelia that Remyhre played so well last game. Now, also in this match, Velvet Whitefish have a third ban. They didn't have one in the last match, I believe, because of a substitution. I could be wrong there, but in any case, they do have that now. And I was actually saying at the end of last game that it could well be that Monash want to look at banning out the Vi. Instead, they've done one better and picked it up. So these two junglers are going to be swapping over. Sinley is going to be on the Evelyn, and Timur is going to be on that Vi, with the Aurelia already picked up. So the dive buddies are there. They're ready and rearing to go, no matter how the rest of this team comp shapes up. LeBlanc, though. What do we think of LeBlanc right now?
LeBlanc, quite an interesting pickup. I mean, still very, very potent mid lane assassin in the hands of our good player, but very different to the Z pickup that we saw last game. So we'll see what Transtars can do on that LeBlanc. Maybe have more of an impact than he did last game, because he kind of sat in the mid lane and watched his team crumble to bits. You know, watched his kingdom, if you will, since Azir is a king of Remyhre.
Emperor.
Yeah, exactly. Or Emperor King, same thing.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
get it together.
Oh,
You know, Augustus
monarchy.
Caesar, the Roman king.
Okay. Back to the game, because that's all we're here for. The Blanc pickup, gonna have a good time against the Victor, but Victor, the tier 1 mid laner, wasn't highly prioritized by either team last game and wasn't banned away either, so good pickup there by Midoriya. Not gonna have his fun on his Orianna because it was banned away. But it's interesting to see Sinley actually opted for the Evelyn when the Vi was actually up, so gonna be a change of champions there. And yeah, the dive buddy is gonna be on the side of Monash Placeholders opposed to what it was on Velvet Weifish.
Yeah, now the interesting thing is Orianna was banned out against Midoriya after he played it so well last time, which left the Victor open. Of course, Victor was banned out in the last match. Victor is a great champion in terms of flexibility. He can go into really he is the crux of flexible compositions, and when you've got things like an Alistair and a Hecarim, you're not going for something super flexible. Really, you've got two options there, and it's run in or run away. But something more pokey coming out from the bottom lane, I was going to say potentially like a Caitlyn, can definitely change this composition into one that has a lot of options. Because Victor, with the wave clear and poke that can come out of the death ray, can be a really scary champion at long ranges. And doesn't quite look like they want to go that direction right now, hovering over the Sivir. But I don't want to go so far as to say I feel like they've wasted the use of the Victor there, because that's potentially a bit too far. And of course, this is a team we've seen play exceptionally well. They must absolutely have a plan here, but certainly some of Victor's potential not quite being tapped by the team composition that has been put together here. That being said, a very strong team composition on the offensive. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, both teams, again, it's going to be a game of inches because the team that gets the early game to mid game lead and gets his objectives control, get the top lane snowballing, the bot lane snowballing, the mid lane snowballing, any lane you possibly can, they will get the lead and they'll run away with it because that's the champions that they've picked up. You see LeBlanc get the kill advantage, she will kill Victor over and over again, and so will happen if the roles were swapped. So it's going to be up to Sinley and TMR 9 to try snowball their individual solo lanes and try have an impact in their bot lane like they did last game.
But I think it'll be really interesting to see what goes down in this bottom lane, actually. The Supportless coming out this time from Bootleg Herald. He definitely tends to favor his tankier, more aggressive supports, though at the same rate, they are generally a bit more favored in the meta game right now. Tying that with Graves, though, is actually really nice, because they don't need their backline to be too far away, if you sort of get what I mean. You know, when you've got the dive threats in things like Aurelia and Vibe, and then, of course, the LeBlanc kind of fits that niche, or at least she isn't on the backline in the same way that a lot of other mid laners are. You have all your threats very far forward, which means you don't need your backline to be too far back. And in fact, it's often better to not have your backline too far back, because then it's very easy for the team to get separated out. So I like having Graves here. Really kind of rounds that out. And it also means Nautilus, who wants to be peeling for the backline, also won't be too far back, because the other thing Nautilus wants to do in a team fight is auto attack everything that moves. He loves stunning people with that auto attack, and the closer he is to the action, the easier it is for him to do that while keeping Graves safe. So I actually really like that in the bottom lane to round out this composition. That being said, how do we feel like it's going to go up against the Sivir Alistar lane?
Well, Nautilus and Graves have so much kill pressure. I mean, one Dredge line or one Riptide placed right is just going to do so much damage to the Sivir, but Inflicted being a good Sivir player, going to spell shield it away, hopefully, and the depth charge quite predictable, so pop that E on Sivir and you're out scotch-free. But Nissan on that Graves and Bootleg Herald on that Nautilus, playing a very characteristical, it seems, high kill pressure lane, but no Ignite being taken away. Maybe an Ignite the Hecarim if he goes to dive into the back line. But as you said before, the team of Monash Placeholders is quite a compact team and fights close in close quarters of each other. No crazy ranged ADCs or no long range poking mid laners. So it's up to the team of Monash Placeholders, to try punish the bot lane of Inflicted and Clyfen, because they're both very short range bot lane duo.
Yeah, and actually interesting, you'll note about them having a lot of kill pressure is, it was the same story last game, only it was the Draven Braum, a lot of kill pressure in that lane. And with exactly the same composition inflicted on Sivir and Clyfen on Alistar, they were able to stay very safe in that lane, going so far as to evening up a CS deficit at one point. Granted, it wasn't a massive one, but still. So it could well just be that Inflicted and Clyfen are running these as comfort picks, and Nissan are maybe just going to throw themselves at it until they figure out how to crack that duo. And I think they actually have a very good chance of doing that. Of course, this time they won't have that Grump start. They can pick up the Krugs, but often with the Grump you get a bit more of a chance at the early level too. So we'll certainly have to see how that plays out. Do we think we're going to see any lane swaps though? My hunch would be no, but what are your thoughts?
Well, if the lane swap were to occur, it would be from Velvet Weifish's side, because Weifish has the weaker lane here, and Alistar, one of those champions that can roam and make a difference in the teams, but Evelyn thrives, I guess, to...
Strives to thrive.
Yeah, exactly.
I regret saying that, actually.
to make an impact in standard lanes, and if you make a lane swap, it kind of mitigates a lot of Evelyn's power, because she can't power dive as efficiently as something like a Vibe could, and also he has to run around the map and try help her top lane if he were to be in a solo lane. So I feel like they could lane swap, but it would be counterintuitive, especially with Sinley on the Evelyn.
I think that's a very good point you actually make there, and we talked a lot about the potential strengths of Evelyn in the last matchup, insofar as she can be just about anywhere. What I mean by that is, if you're playing against an Evelyn, you have to assume that she is there and you just can't see her. How do we think that that's going to affect the way Monash play this game? Because they're not a team that is super threatened by the Evelyn, if you kind of get what I mean, you know. They're very mobile. I mean, I think Aurelia maybe is more than, threatened more than the other members of the team, but, you know, Nissan, he's always going to have Bootleg Harold around to keep him safe on that Nautilus. Transtars is going to have blinks and dashes for days. How afraid really are they of Sinley's Evelyn?
I have to say they aren't that afraid, as you mentioned. The kill pressure in all these lanes, although they're quite high, Finley being there doesn't really add much. We hate Avania on the Aurelia can just equilibrium strike the Evelyn, assuming she's low, and just stun her for a couple of seconds and walk out of there. I mean, there's not much that they can do unless something like Clifin on that Alistair does a flash pulverize into a headbutt straight into Evelyn. Then maybe Sinley can do something to try capitalize on that. But apart from that, we're just going to see Transtar just dash out of there and farm this lane away unless there's a slight advantage and his jungler is close. So I feel like TMR9 has a easier time ganking these lanes and trying to translate those ganks into summoner spells being burned, turrets, or kills.
Yeah, I feel like Sinley is kind of the oddball in this team comp. I don't see the Evelyn fitting into this as cleanly as every other champion does. This is really interesting by Avena. Is he trying to outpredict a lane swap? I mean, Sinley knows about this, and Avena doesn't know Sinley's here. Avena's in trouble. He's gotten far too greedy here. Stuns out Sinley, but that's him forced to take that equilibrium strike early. Now Alstra Remyhre hot in his heels. What was Avena's plan there? Was he just standing to be a human ward?
Yeah, Avena, I think he was trying to scout out which buff Evelyn started, but I don't know the Evelyn is stealth, and you have to pot that that she was holding with that Doran's blade, and that's gonna hurt her a lot in this lane swap. I mean, it's not just it stopped Hecarim from doing Wolves as well. I mean, Hecarim did want to start that Wolves or the race there, but not being able to buy cloth armor because that's what you usually get, and a lot of pressure going on the bot lane already. Bootleg Harold and Nissan's trying to just establish some vision there, some lane dominance, and doing a very good job right there.
Interesting that they didn't opt to take the Crux, but Gromp was taken by Inflicted Supply Phantom, so even so, Bootleg Harold and Nissan keeping fairly even in terms of the level, so there isn't that massive push pressure coming out just yet from Inflicted. Avena's actually trading still quite nicely in this top lane. I think actually a very good point was raised there, stopping Hecarim from doing those wolves like he wanted. Hold on, Transtars might be in trouble here. Deathray goes down, he needs a chunk that. Sidney comes into the lane, flash over the wall though, Transtar's going to keep himself nice and safe. Didn't quite have the dash available just yet. And hold on, Clifin getting aggressive there, trying to keep himself safe. Bootleg Harold still putting down the pressure. In fact, all of these lanes are just, they're powder kegs. I feel like anything's gonna blow any minute now.
Yeah, exactly. Every lane is just trying to get the slight lead because all of them have so much kill pressure just building up, and one slight misposition or one slight bad movement or engage is going to turn so bad for the enemy laner. So what we saw there was a bit of back and forth by Inflicted and Kleinef, and we actually suddenly walk into the bot lane and the enemy jungle is nowhere near to be found.
Oh wow, flash forward from Clifin. I was about to say Bootleg Harold might have misplayed there by throwing out the dredge line. It looks like that's going to be exactly it. He flashes forward, but Sydney's there to answer it. There's no way Bootleg Harold gets out of this one alive. Burst Bud going over to Sydney. The red buff burn really just sealing an already well handshook deal, and Sydney walks away from that. So there you go, Sydney able to put down the pressure.
And Remyhre actually pushing in Avenir in this top lane, and Sydney actually looking towards stealing that red buff, but if Avenir misses this wave, then it's going to be so bad for him. I mean, he has to back because the ignite advantage on Remyhre, but if she stays, she has that, she might get killed here.
Yeah, opting to stay. Sinley and Timmer actually having a bit of a back and forth, but Sinley's buff is gone, but wow, Clifton and Inflicted coming in for it. Transtars and Mod Oreo finding the same skirmish, and now Nissan wants a bit of the action. Inflicted getting a huge chunk taken out. Sydney wants to go aggressive, but you can't afford to go too far. Actually, this could be a bit of a pincer movement here. No one quite wanting to go in. Timmy not charging up that Vault Breaker just yet, and Bootleg Harold rather, without that level 3, wasn't too keen to go in. He's going to throw down a stun on Clifton for backing away again. Actually, no, hovering around there. Like I said, powder keg, man.
Yeah, Avenir actually being forced to back and only get a Ruby Crystal, which is only to add him 150 health or so, which is going to be really, really brutal for him because when Remyhre backs, he might get something like a Sheen, a Phage, and that's going to snowball the lane extremely hard and an advantage. And also he has the TP up and the Ignite still, so a lot more kill pressure on the side of this Heck Room.
Yeah, Vayner was really looking to maybe affect the map elsewhere and in other ways, and without that teleport, that's really just not an option. That being said, Vayner showing Remyhre that he still isn't to be trifled with, and that being said as well, Aurelia is a champion that has some really strong power spikes, sort of around the level 9 and 11 mark, sometimes at level 7 depending on how well an Aurelia does early, but that's something that still has to be on Remyhre's mind. Of course, he played Aurelia last game, he knows exactly how good Aurelia can be in the right hands and in the right situation, and also at what time. So I wonder if Remyhre is going to start giving that a bit more respect, even as he's a bit ahead right now.
Remyhre having no...
Oh, he's totally been baited into this. Timmy9 is right there on the side. Doesn't quite connect, did throw out the flash to get it, but Remyhre, he doesn't have anywhere to run to. No one to turn around on Vayner. The Ignite did go down, but it's not going to be enough. Vayner, he's going to be able to stay alive. Nice pick-up kill there. We've got a bit of a disconnect from Nissan. I imagine that's going to be a pause here. There we go. So, disconnect from Nissan. Hopefully that's going to be resolved before long. Doesn't look like it's affected the game too much. He has just walked out of lane a little bit. I want to talk about that top lane gank though. I mean, Vayner did cut it pretty fine there, but after we were saying he was falling behind because the teleport being blown and all that, and then we were also talking about the extra gank pressure that comes out from the fight early on, we kind of saw it all come together just then, and a really nice early play came out from Monash.
Yeah, as you said, TMI9, sorry, utilizing that Vi advantage, not being able to gank a lot earlier, and reading the map, because Remyhre just picked up a Sheen and was looking to go in and push the lane, and he did exactly what he TMI9 expected and counter ganked that, picking up the kill for Avenir, which is going to be extremely advantageous because Aurelia with a kill, it can never hurt, right? So, very, very good play there by TMI9. I'm going to push this into the turret, so Remyhre misses a lot of the CS towards the turret, but I wouldn't count out Remyhre on the second medal.
Definitely not, but also to be noted here is Vayner's teleport is going to come up long before Remyhre's. There's a nice window there where the teleport and then Onslaught of Shadows pressure just isn't going to be there, while Vayner can still pressure fights. Now, we were saying that blowing the teleport was a huge issue for Vayner because he wanted to be affecting other fights across the map in the early parts of the game, while Remyhre wanted to be pressuring the lane in the early parts of the game. And now Vayner has kind of hit a reset button on that, so he's got a bit of freedom to go back to that, playing the game that he wants to play. So I really think it's going to be on Remyhre to counter it out, either to put enough pressure on this lane or to find ways he can affect other team fights as the game goes on.
It's really up to the team of Monash to try to put a timer on this game, because once this game gets past the 30-35 minute mark, it's going to be extremely advantageous. Oh, actually, Dragon being taken away there on the bot side of the map, so TMI9 sneaking that Dragon away, and no pings were going across one side of Velvet Weifish, so they must have not known that was actually happening.
Whoa! Aggression up at the top lane. Remyhre goes in on Vayner. Midoriya is roped all the way up though. Vayner, he's just walking away from it. Does blow the flash, but that's a huge roam from Midoriya. And I mean, you can't really say unsupported by the Dragon because that has already gone down, but that is Midoriya walking away from a lane where it's very tense, and he's trying to stop, Transtars from getting ahead.
Yeah, and without that Chaos Storm up, there's going to be no kill pressure for the next, 2 minutes or so, so it's going to be really important that Transtars tries to capitalize on the slight lead that she has in this lane right now. But it's very good trying to push out that Aurelia in terms of Avenir in the top lane. Getting the blue across the Transtar here, going to help him in the laning phase, and try mirror the blue that's probably going to be given over to Victor, but actually might not be. Evelyn might take it for herself, and that's actually quite interesting. Oh no, the blue is in fact being given over, so
there we go.
No one is solidly screaming about, junglers not getting the blues and stuff.
He just took a little while walking over there. He took the scenic route. Wow, Inflicted gets caught out there by a nice dredge line. The spell shield comes up way too late. Nissan, headbutt pulverize on him. Inflicted trying to throw down some damage, but Bootleg Harold, he's just unbothered by everything going on around him. Wants to, more than happy to stand in the middle of the fight still. The kill pressure is still there. Even as Nissan is falling behind in CS, the kill pressure is very much there.
Yeah, it's quite interesting though. I would expect this lane to go into the advantage of Nissan and Bootleg Harold, but surprisingly up 30 farm Inflicted is, and it's going in the favor of the bot lane of Inflicted and Clyfin. So, not what I expected, but definitely well done by the side of Clyfin and Inflicted.
TMR9 hasn't spent much time around that bottom side of the map, which I feel is a bit of a contributing factor. I mean, he's certainly done the right thing by applying his pressure more around the top and, to a lesser extent, middle area of the map to keep Transtars safer in the earlier parts of the game. But it has been at the cost of Nissan maybe not doing as well as he would like in that bottom lane. Inflicted and Clyfen are going to put a lot of pressure onto this map the moment this turret goes down.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I want to see what Sinley can do with this kill, because he's had this kill for a while and hasn't applied any other pressure in any other lanes. Actually,
mid. TMR9 going aggressive on Midoriya, gets stunned up as well. The gravity field might not be enough. TMR9 manages to walk away from the. Here comes Sinley, using that kill to great effect. Transtars finding Midoriya under the turret. Is he going to be able to get out though? Remyhre is on top of the Clyfen, comes down from the bottom lane as well, just in case it wasn't able to be sealed up by Sinley, but Sinley does pick that one up. A 2-for-1 in favor of Velvet. That's getting tricky.
That's a blue reset as well, onto the side of Sinley, gonna pick up this red buff probably again. So
that's the wandering blue buff.
So yeah, exactly, just gonna pick up that red buff right now, away from this, and Remyhre is gonna be in the top lane. Nissan actually being caught here, and Clyfen gonna knock him up and probably sign his death.
I don't think Nissan gets out of this. The exhaust being held onto until the right moment. Sinley coming down as well just to secure the kill. And this is exactly it. We're talking about the powder keg, and Velvet Weifish have gone, well, this is the time to light the fuse.
Exactly, Velvet Weifish putting a switch on this game and saying, hey, we have to go in and start making plays, because they weren't happy with the initial start. And
that
next plays right here.
Made indeed. Dim9, maybe the wrong place at the wrong time, coming in a little bit too early, as Sydney puts the aggression down. Here comes the teleporter from Remyhre though, wanting to clean up the fight. Bootleg Harold's still there, very low, forced to flash away over the wall. Inflicts might want to chase everyone out. Now here comes Transtars as well. This could be the turnaround, but there's the Victor, the gravity field, it finds Remyhre. He goes down. There was no further follow-up, and without Nissan in that fight, they just didn't have the big damage. And Bootleg Harold as well, just being sniped out by the very edge of that death rate. Midoriya really just showing why Victor was banned away from him in that first match.
Yeah, exactly. Quite interesting build here by Midoriya though, not upgrading Hex Core on his first back, which is usually what you do, because Hex Core on Victor, once he gets to level 2, he can get the burn on his E, the Mark II one, but gonna go for that rush into Morale and Nomicon, and not going for Things Unholy Grail, kind of not respecting the damage that might come out of Transtar, but Morale and Nomicon being quite a lot cheaper item than the Fiends, so fair enough buy there. But Sinley, I was mentioning before, was he doing enough on the map, and the past 5 minutes just showed me that he turned it on.
He really has. You know, last game when we saw TMR9 get into that same spot as Evelyn, he just ended up falling flat, and he was just so ineffectual across the map. Sinley not falling prey to the same disease here. Actually, Remyhre and Remyhre are going aggressive in this top lane, and Remyhre doesn't really feel like this is a fight he can really pick.
Yeah, Sinley's going to pick up that red, and Midoriya, a very good indication of a good mid lane player, always looking for the roams, always looking where he can help his team, and Clyfen is going to keep his wave out of the turret, so Midoriya can pick up this farm and start snowballing him a bit further.
Hold up, here comes TMR9 to the top lane, right in on top of Remyhre before the Onslaught of Shadows went out, and of course Remyhre just used that back to safety. TMR9 maybe a little bit trigger happy there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone looking for kills across the map, but not really translating into gold there. Remyhre just going to walk away. Bootleg Harold not going to be able to kill him by himself.
Bootleg Harold found him though. Are they going to chase this one out, or do they just want the turret pressure? The thing is, if they commit that many people to the top lane, I was going to say, here it is. It's going to get out for by a mid lane turret. They knew that Inflicted was roaming up. They knew that Sinley and Midoriya were around that side. Obviously, that's a trade they're willing to make.
Yeah, interesting though, because mid lane turret opens up the map a lot more than the top lane tier 1 turret, and not a trade that I'd make personally, but a very good rotation there. Unfortunately, not picking up the kill onto Remyhre, but they might get 2 turrets out of this move in the top lane.
They might just, but they could also be punished for it. Actually, it's going to be the Dragon that gets traded for this turret, which I feel is actually the smarter move than just trying to go up and pincer. In fact, Remyhre and Clyfen together are enough to keep Monash off this turret, so that really speaks volumes as to how the game's going. Bootleg Harold now getting caught out. Remyhre looking for something on Remyhre, but Bootleg Harold can't really stay in this fight much longer. Or can he? No, he can't. The Igniter's down. Remyhre goes on to Remyhre, but he's already low. Transtars has come up. Remyhre barely alive. They do pick up Remyhre, but they lost the mid turret, they lost the Dragon, and they lost Bootleg Harold. This is not favorable for Monash.
And Inflicted might pick up the second tier mid lane turret as well, which would open up the map even more after what already was pretty bad for them. I mean, consolation prize, they might get their own blue, but I mean, this is really, really bad for the side of Monash Placeholders.
In fact, Inflicted happy to take one turret shot there to seal the deal. This is actually a lot of what we saw in the last game as well with Velvet Weifish. Once they do get a bit of an advantage, or they have an advantageous situation, they push it to its absolute extreme and never a step further. You know, if they can get a turret, they will get the turret. They don't opt for caution there. They will just go for it. They don't hesitate. And every single time it's paid off. Now, like I said, at the same rate, they don't take it too far. They don't go for risky turrets. They don't overstay their welcome. They've never been caught out by going for objectives for longer than they should have. On the flip side, Monash have had exactly that happen multiple times to them. They try and get an objective to push themselves back into the game. They don't do it safely. They get a little bit desperate and they end up getting caught out and get punished for it.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking of what you just said, Bootleg Howard trying to go in on Midoriya, but hitting a minion and actually...
And there's only two of them. Just him and Transtars. In fact, Transtars just taking a chunk of damage from Clyfen and Sinley, just between the two of them. It's not safe for any lone member of Monash. Bootleg Herald spotted out by a ward there. Sinley wants to go aggressive. Timur9 wants to go even more aggressive, even going through the gravity field right on top of Midoriya, who walks away to the backside. Teleport coming in now for Remyhre. The Onslaught of Shadows, it only barely finds Nissan. He's cutting back for his life. Bootleg Herald is so low. With that Chaos Storm on top of him, does fall over. Sinley manages to pick up Transtars in the middle of the fight there. Nissan forced to flash away, but Remyhre and Sinley still hot on his heels. Is going to be able to walk out of that, but didn't pick up a single kill for all the effort they threw at that fight. And now Avena, oh my goodness, he's going to get completely pisted here. So greedy trying to find Midoriya and Inflicted, and he's going to be the one that gets found instead. Remyhre, he's going to sweep in with that pumpkin head. Any minute now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there it goes. Finally going down, yeah. Avenir actually making it way too late there at the fight, walking away from bot lane, but once it got there, they had already kited back, torn through the team of Monash Placeholders, and at that point it was too hard for them to try and make a play. Avenir too little too late, and this game, Remyhre has just kind of been the bait, and they've got objectives off that. They sent 30 people up top, they sent 70 people, you know, mid to try and get these small objectives, and Velvet Weifish just answer with so much more. They get so much more off these objectives than the opposing team, and it's just really difficult for the team of Monash Placeholders to do much at this point. I mean, so far behind in gold already.
And he also mentioned in that fight, Avena walked up from bottom lane. He had the teleport available, and there were wards for Monash. He opted to not teleport. Imagine, if you will, Avena teleports into that fight, jumps on Midoriya when Midoriya tries to walk to safety. Midoriya goes down. Inflicted doesn't have any safety out of Clyfen because Clyfen was going aggressive in that fight. Then Inflicted goes down. Remyhre alone can't quite pick off Nissan. Nissan goes down, actually. Speaking of Midoriya, does finally get picked out. It's a little bit of a consolation prize here for Monash, but if they can find a few more of those, then they might find themselves back in this match. But in any case, that could have been a very different fight, actually, if Avena had have just been there earlier, really.
Yeah, interesting point you mentioned there. We have a very strong Evelyn, though, in the form of Sinley here. And already has that Blade of the Rune King finished up. Probably going to opt for some tank items now, but both Sinley and the mid laner and the ADC off the side of Velvet Weifish doing so much damage here. Clyfen just being cute, trying to get a combo down, and actually like engaged on him.
Well, they found Clyfen, but he's not really one to find. Sinley, the depth charge go down on him and not onto anyone in the back line. That being said, Midoriya is there. There goes the Agnes in place. The Onslaught of Shadows on top of it. It's so huge. Timur9 falls over. Nissan soon to follow. Avena running for his life. Headbutt pulverized back. He's definitely going flash over the wall. Scrapes out by the skin of his teeth. Him and Transtars both the only ones to walk away from that fight, and just barely at that. And look at how healthy Velvet are.
Yeah, that team fight almost a normal 5v5 there, but the beautiful engage there by the side of Sinley, being patient with his Agnes Embrace and just placing it perfectly on 4 members, and this is so much damage. They're so far ahead at this point, and Vice Assault and Battery only went on to that support Alistair in terms of Clyfen, and he already had his Unbreakable Will up, so doing less than 100 damage. I mean, that's so integral part of playing Vice, ulting the right person, and unfortunately, MON9 didn't ult the right person in that fight.
No, unfortunately not, and a similar way, neither did Bootleg Harold. I mean, getting it down onto Sinley is good because it keeps him away from the middle of the fight, but at the same time, ideally you want that to go down onto Inflicted. You want to blow the spell shield and then get that depth charge down on Inflicted. But in any case, how the fight has gone, and Monash, they need to look at how they're getting back into this match, because if they don't win this, then it's all over for them.
Just look at the map, it just speaks so much about how far ahead the side of Velvet Weifish are right now. They're trying to sneak a Baron, trying to be cheeky, they're actually not being pinged across, so they might have some inkling suspicions that Gamestah might go down here.
He might just doesn't have the flash available, tries to juke back, but Clive and Midoriya knew what was going on there. Now they're going to sniff out this Baron, might actually find a very low team. Monash Inflicted is already there, gets a chunk onto Nissan. Clive is there as well, a good headbutt, Pulverize, finds Avena against the wall. Avena now being charged down by Inflicted, and Midoriya was there too. He goes down, Midoriya wants to fight for no, the teleports, sorry, the recalls, a little bit too quick. But that's two members of Monash went down in order for that Baron to be taken. That's a noble sacrifice indeed, but it might be a little bit of a misguided sacrifice.
Yeah, Dragon 2, assuming would probably go across the side of Velvet Weifish right now. Definitely in the driver's seat. And really, Carrot might get caught here by Cyril. Sorry. And,
or is the Hunter hunted? He's going to throw out the trench line just for a take that. Inflicted knows he can't quite go under a turret against a Nautilus as much as he might like to. Remyhre also finding TMR 9 in his own jungle. Like, it's just not safe for Monash. You know, look at that side of the map, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. A little bit less lit than before, but even then, only one Monash ward down in that area. Second Dragon now going over to Velvet Weifish. The question is, how do they choose to close out this game? Because in all honesty, they don't have the greatest siege comp. They can push down turrets very quickly, but you don't really want to get too close to a turret when there's something like a Nautilus and a Vi around.
Fortunately
so
enough,
how do they close out this game if not through team fights?
Yeah, fortunately enough for the side of Sinley, it turns into the fact that they have a scaling comp. I mean, Hickory, one of the hardest scaling top laners, Victor being an extremely potent assassin / team fighting mid laner in the late game. And actually a pick going across to maybe, no, they're just going to dredge line away, but as I was mentioning before, this Baron buff more than anything going to stop sieges because they can't siege into anything because they're so far behind in terms of gold at this point. I mean, the mid lane tier 1 and the bot lane tier 1 still being up by the side of Velvet Weifish.
Absolutely. Monash is taking a breather. Wow, Remyhre going aggressive, finds Avena. Here's Cyril and Sidley and Cliven, rather. They blew up Avena before he even knew what was going on. Now, Bootleg Harold going to get away under the turret, but you know, a pick is a pick. Inflicted on the far side. That actually found the exhaust on Transtar. The clone, is it going to be enough, or is it? He barely scrapes out of that. No! He went down. He blinked back.
Yeah, and they're going to go for a base race here, but Remyhre is going to teleport back and stop their feeble efforts to try to get this turret here, and they actually might get the tier 2 L turret and the tier turret, sorry. So we'll see what they can do right now to try utilize the numbers advantage they have in the bot lane. Just gonna back off and might force more here. They're gonna back off and just take their wins and not try overextend their lead right now.
It's a shame that Nissan didn't do so well in this game. You know, you can imagine if that was a bigger Graves, then Remyhre wouldn't have actually been able to stop that push, and that probably would have saved that turret as well. In fact, a lot of things would be going very differently if Nissan hadn't got a little bit behind in lane, which is really what happened. He was about 20 to 30 CS down in lane for the bulk of the early game, and that means he's just unfortunately been ineffectual. I mean, look, he's completed the Yumu's Ghostblade, but that's it. You compare that to Sivir, who already has Infinity Edge, Static Shift, almost all of a Bloodthirster. Like, this Graves is just a step below Sivir right now.
Yeah, you look at all roles, I mean, every single role has at least in one item advantage. The top lane, the Frozen Heart advantage over Avenir on that Aurelia. We have the jungle item advantage in terms of almost probably going to get that Aegis of Legion. And on the mid lane, he's already finished up his Hex Core, looking towards what seems like a Rabadon's Death Cap or maybe a Zonya's here, but we'll see. But definitely very big advantage. Avenir going to go down on Remyhre, but might get pincered here actually.
Oh. Avenir can't afford to pick these fights. Remyhre, no, he does get a little bit turned upon as Avena tries to get up, but it's too late. Avena still goes down, and now the rest of the team is going to arrive. Remyhre, he finds this, and no one's going to stop the Headless Horseman. Now Sidley on the backside, he's the one that's going to pick up Nissan. TMR9, he's got nowhere to run. Well, I say that as he is running, but it's still not far enough, and that's the clean ace. I feel like that's all she wrote for this game. Velvet Whitefish looking to close this one out. Possibly want to go for that bottom side. The minion wave is quite far away, actually. Might just look to the mid lane instead. It's their game to close. The question is, can they do it quick enough?
We just look across the score of Clifton right now on the Alistair. 21 assists and 0 deaths. I mean, he's been an integral part of the team's kills, and 21 out of 24 kill contribution. That's so high. That's about 90%. And it just goes to show how much of impact he on this Alistair has been in this game so far. His team is playing around him so well. We see Sinley doing an amazing job on that Evelyn, and the team's just playing the map perfectly like we saw last game.
Like I said, really, how do Monash get themselves back in this? Honestly, I don't know. Like, it's Velvet's game to throw. As unfortunate as that is to say, that's how Monash get back into this. If Velvet make a lot of mistakes. Now, it doesn't have to be all at once. They can just make a few mistakes over a few team fights, but that's the only way Monash find themselves back in this game. I mean, right now they're sort of going through the motions of playing defensively and staying in the game, as loosely as I use that term, but it's going to be all over for them soon. You know, they're really just waiting in case a mistake is made. That's such a tough spot for them to be in.
Exactly, and like, we just saw TMR9 take away the blue because there's no point giving it across to Transtars right now. He's going to get popped instantly, and if he does wait for Transtars to get there, the chances of it being stolen are very high. So there's so much control on the side of Velvet Weifish right now, and it's just so hard for his team. Actually, as I say that, they actually might go in on Remyhre, but Remyhre gonna just press that E and run away as fast as he can because that's what horses do. And no members of the team of Velvet Weifish trying to get caught out here. Just gonna push the lanes, be as slow as possible while also
TMR9 getting caught. There goes the onslaught of shadows. Finds this out of TMR9. Like I said, that side of the jungle was just not safe, and it really came through there. Monash getting caught out. Bootleg Harold, he's going to be the next one to go down. It's only 2 members, but TMR9 is low. All of Velvet Whitefish are healthy as horses, especially that Hecarim. TMR9, no, that's the wrong way. In fact, they're just going to ignore him. Sinley's going to be sent to deal with him, but all they need to do is stop him from getting back into the base. And it's going to be a 5v2 as they approach the Nexus here. They're going to take out the next inhibitor turret first. Actually, they might not quite have time for it as Nissan and Big Harold are going to be back up. But actually, even then, is the 4 of them enough to really hold out? I mean, Tramstars, you can't assassinate anyone. Doesn't look like Velvet want to finish off that push. They're going to turn their attention to the Baron instead. But like I was saying, Transtars, he can't assassinate anyone. Nissan, he can't do enough damage. Bootleg Harold, he's too squishy, which is a terrifying thing to say of a Nautilus, and Avena, same, it just doesn't have the damage threat there. If they can't get even one member of this team down reliably, then they certainly can't get all 5 of them down, but they're not really themselves there. That being said, all 5 of them are back up now. Actually, Aurelia teleporting into the Baron pit does kind of stop the Baron, but Avena just dies.
Suddenly just killing Graves and also killing Nautilus on the back end. I mean, shows how strong he is right now. 9-0-10 on the Evelyn, hasn't gone down once this whole game, and playing is so well. Transtar gonna try to stop, but I mean, if the ADC can kill the mid laner, then something's wrong in this game, and this so far hit. TMI9, we're gonna try to get a constellation prize. We're gonna go down there. A clean ace again. Gonna get this Baron, possibly finish the game, and might be a surrender vote coming through here. And it does.
I really feel like that was going to be... I mean, you can even see Hecarim was already teleporting on top of the Nexus that had the minions there. Monash knew it was all over. They just wanted to have a little bit of fun, throwing themselves one by one onto the enemy's swords. That is going to be it, guys. I mean, what a commanding series for Velvet Whitefish against the Monash B team, Monash Placeholders. They're going to be a team to look out for as this competition continues onward.
Yeah, that team was so strong, and they played the map like real veterans, obviously knowing their way around the map, knowing how to play objective focused, really taking those little inches that they got and turning them into meters, really utilizing the leads that they had in both the jungle, the top lane, the mid lane, the support role, and the ADC. So very beautifully played by the team of Velvet Weifish, and very valiant effort there by Monash placeholders to try hold them off.
Yeah, valiant indeed, but not quite enough. And that is going to be it. Velvet Whitefish taking out that series 2-0 in this qualifying round. So, Boone, run us through how this is going to go down from here on out. Where do they go next?
Yeah, so after this commanding victory here, they're going to be versing tomorrow the winner of the first best of three, sorry, the other Monash team. So the first one Monash team off, and they're taking the A team now. So once they do win or lose that game, the winner of that will go on towards the playoffs, which is between New Zealand, Tasmania, Victoria, all the best teams from those states. And the winner of that, after that, will go towards Riot Studios to verse the winner of the playoffs between Queensland and New South Wales and a couple other states, I believe, but I'm not quite sure so far. But yeah, if they can keep this performance up, they should have a very good chance of running into and getting a flyover to Riot Studios in Sydney.
Best of luck to them moving forward. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I have been Matt, Pixie, Carol, and casting with me today has been Tipuni, Poon, Doyle. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.